In this episode of Ask a Griffin, we talk about the 4 keys to communication during the sale of your property. So in this episode, we want to talk about the 4 keys to proper communication during the sale of your property. Now, the first one is not so obvious, and that's because you need to start with self-communication. That's the key here, is to really take a heartbeat before you sell your property and give it some thought. Think about, why am I really about to go through the process of selling my property? And really the deep part of that communication has to do with motivation. Really looking yourself in the proverbial mirror and asking yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated am I to really be engaged in this major financial and emotional transaction? Probably the biggest one that most people ever make in a lifetime. So you really have to ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you? That self-communication is critical. And if you're not somewhere around 9 to 10, you need to take pause and say, why not? Because if you're not that highly motivated, you're not going to hear any of the communication that becomes necessary to get your home sold for top dollar in the quickest manner possible. Now, the next thing is to communicate truthfully with your agent. You see, that seems like it might be obvious, but a lot of us have really developed this paranoid personality where we always fear being taken advantage of. And for the right reasons, I suppose, because that happens a lot out there. But the key is, if you've really become motivated, then take your time to communicate with agents if you're making a decision as to whom you'll use to go through the process, because it becomes very critical to trust at this point in time. So build that relationship of trust with an agent so you can clearly communicate about strategy. It's one thing to talk about motivation and also to not pull the punch about why you're motivated and why you're selling. This is not a game. Don't make your agent guess as to what's on your mind and why you're doing this. Tell them honestly, and assuming that they're honest and you have that good bond, all of that can help them do a much better job for you during the process. So again, self-communication and honest communication with your agents are point number 1 and 2. The next point here is really part of the process. You want to listen to all of the post-showing feedback. Now again, this is a little bit of a gap here I want to go back and talk about. We've gotten this far to list the property at this point in time. We really want to dig into getting that marketing out there and getting people in the property. If nobody's coming, go all the way back to the beginning of this course and check out our talk about pricing it right, because that's the gap that if all the pricing and marketing has been done correctly, you should be getting showings. If you're not getting showings, it's not the marketplace. It's not some esoteric problem. It is a very clear path to getting this far with our showings. Now, when those showings happen, it is critical that your agent is using some methodology, strategy to accumulate post-showing feedback. Hey, did they like the property on a scale of 1 to 10? Hey, what did they think about making an offer on the property? Was there a reason they didn't? You have to really dig in there, because what you'll find in that post-showing feedback is, hey, we didn't like it because it didn't have this feature or that benefit. So now you can talk with your agent. We go back up the ladder. We have that constant cycle of communication on a truthful basis with you and your agent, where you're saying, oh boy, that's something we could have done something about when we were talking about condition. See, I told you, you should have really dug in there and cleaned the landscaping, cleaned the property. We're starting to hear that it's dirty and they don't want to do any work. That's the type of post-showing feedback you're looking for. Now, of course, there's showing feedback that you can't do anything about. Well, it was on a busy road. It wasn't really in the exact part of the neighborhood we hoped it would be. Well, you're not going to pick up the house and property and move it. It is what it is. So some of this you can do something about, some you can't. Now, here's the next point. Okay? This is about how we have to behave to be able to handle all of that post-showing feedback. And that is simply, look, accept the critique. That's the first part of this, okay? It's very easy to not be, okay, or be defensive. So I say, don't be defensive. Because when you're accepting that critique, your natural defense mechanism pops up and says, well, you know, they don't know that I did this or I have that, and who are they anyway? Look, that has no place, really. I get that it happens, but it really has no place in this process. This is communication about a business transaction. You are offering a product for sale. I get the complication is the fact that it's your home most likely in most cases, and that you can be very defensive and you worked so hard to do certain things that just don't seem to be being appreciated. I get it, but it's business. And when it's business, it's best to listen to the critique. Take a heartbeat before you become defensive, because you really have to put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. They're trying to eliminate choices so that they can focus in and buy something. And sometimes that critique comes across as a little unprofessional and a little bit harsh, and nobody really means anything by that. That's not something to be taken personally. They're talking about the product. We don't like the product, so you have to unpack the difference between the fact that you have product and a home. I know for you they're tied together, but for the buyer, it's really just sort of the harsh reality of it worked or it didn't work. So let's summarize about the 4 keys to communication. And remember, this is critical because this is what will help you get your home sold fast and for top dollar. So number 1, start by looking in the mirror and self-communicating. Why am I about to engage in this major financial and emotional transaction? And what is my motivation on a scale of 1 to 10? If it's not a 10, why not? Be honest with yourself at the start. Then, take your time. If you're not sure who you're going to hire to help you with this, interview. Interview a variety of agents. Look for the characteristics where you can gain relationship so that you feel comfortable being completely truthful, not part of the information. You want an agent to do a great job for you, you need to be completely truthful with that agent. So pick one where you feel comfortable opening up and being very transparent. Number 3, listen to all the post-showing feedback. You see these buyers and their buyer agents that come through, or direct buyers, whatever the case may be. You can glean some critical information after the showing for them. In fact, they are the marketplace. So if you really want to know what's going on in the marketplace, you'll listen to them. What else did they see? What other home did you lose to? It's critical to hear that loudly and clearly. And you know, sometimes a buyer slips through who's sort of a tire kicker and nobody vetted that process. Not much you can do about those, just other than move on. And lastly, accept all this critique openly. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but accept it. Take a heartbeat, don't be defensive, and wherever possible, make your adjustments. Okay? There are your 4 keys to communication. Get out there. This is part of our process. Remember, you can go back and look at our other episodes on how to sell your house for top dollar in any type of market. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you taking the time to watch these episodes. And if you know somebody who needs this stuff, please share it along. Thanks again.